Pieces in progress is in a session. All right. So we're just two friends having good conversation, and we decided we're going to go ahead and read off a Reddit post about relationships.
This is a good one.
Yeah.
Is it worth breaking up with a good woman and a good mother to your child if you want more kids, but she doesn't? Personal experiences. 34 female here, partners 32 male. I'm looking for your stories of how you navigated this situation and whether you were able to make peace with having just one kid despite wanting more, and how, or whether you decided to seek another partner who's willing to have kids and how that worked out for you. It's odd the way she's writing this because you know it's her.
What I really love about it, though, in this day and age is that I can definitely feel, you can tell when something's written by AI. You can't, I'm sorry, sometimes you can't, but I really feel like nowadays you become almost AI readable. And like, I can tell when I get an email that's done by AI, which is fine. It's not a big deal. But like in this post, I feel like we're getting a genuine response and experience, which is nice.
It's the way it opens up is like very, I don't want to say insecure. What I want to say is it's like she's looking for like is my partner going to leave me if I don't do this? That's the feel I get from it. Anyways, let's dive into it. I'm the woman in this situation. I met my partner online and was upfront from the start that I didn't want any more kids, 2 previous, and I would get sterilized. He insisted he could be happy with just me, but 1 kid would be magnificent and enough to make him happy. Long story short, I got pregnant by accident and didn't have the heart to abort it because of how badly he wanted to be a dad.
You know something though, but let's talk about what he first said, right? Which is like he's okay with just her, but it'd be magnificent if he had a kid. And what he's really saying is I want another kid.
Well, I think he's saying like, you're enough. I really want to experience being a dad, but you're enough. And she said, I'll get sterilized.
Yeah.
And she didn't.
Yeah. And I mean, but also too though, it's like, is he doing a, by what he's saying, is he just being performative? Like,
I feel like at 32, if a kid is a non-negotiable, you're not going to invest your time with someone who is upfront from the start that they don't want kids. How old are they? 34 and 32. I feel like we're pretty firm in what we want in our 30s. Maybe we're not, but
I remember being pretty firm in my 30s.
You weren't going to have kids.
That's right. I have 2 kids.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Okay, now our kid's a sweet toddler. The birth was totally uneventful. Babyhood was relatively easy since I already had experience and breastfed and did all the nights, so my guy has been involved and loving it. It's gone so well for him that now he feels like he cannot live without experiencing it again. He must have another one. However, this would be my 5th pregnancy. Had 1 baby die shortly after a traumatic birth. And I would have a 1-year-old to run around after while suffering from extreme fatigue and whatever else. I'm really curious about where the way that she words it, like he must, like, and that's all capitalized, have another one. Like, okay, when you got with him, you said, I'm going to get sterilized. That's how serious I am about not having children.
Yeah.
And then you didn't, and you got pregnant, and then you had the baby because he had to have it. There's a lot of pushing it off. This is on him. I have another child because of him. I did this for him. So.
And now he feels probably entitled.
Right. And I don't want to negate either. She says that she had this terrific experience where she had a child die and then she had to chase after this other baby. I'm wondering if the baby that passed was her 2nd baby or a 3rd baby, and that's why she didn't want another baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that is traumatic, right? For a woman to lose a baby, no matter where at in the pregnancy process at any point, it's just like, that's a loss. Something like, I think on average, and anybody wants to Google it, they can, but I think on average, some women go through like 3 miscarriages, and it's not abnormal to actually have 3 miscarriages as you're going for a child. And when I found that out with my wife, I was like, whoa, that super surprised me. I didn't know 3. And that's right now how doctors talk about it sometimes. It's kind of nonchalant too. They're like, well, 3, just what happens. I'm like, hey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I would have a 1-year-old to run after while suffering from extreme fatigue and whatever else. I already had 1 kid just for him. I'm so lucky it went so well. That just seems resentment.
Yeah, just for him. And that's she made a contract in her head. And I'm curious if she told him about the contract. Did she say, hey, I just want to make sure we both understand I'm having this kid for you. Did she actually verbalize that and say that to him? Because she didn't, then she had a contract in her head and she never told it to him. And that's just going to be a resentment.
The way she writes this, it's resentful.
Yeah.
I had this child for him.
Yeah. So why would you ever think about asking me for a second? I already did the first one for you. Why would you ask me for a second? Yeah.
Also raised my 2 previous kids who were close in age, and that was absolutely overwhelming struggle for me. And they're still at home and not fully independent. I'm wondering how old these kids are. Not fully independent. Like, kids are pretty independent early on.
Yeah. I mean, I have a 9-year-old and a 2.5-year-old, and I feel like my 2.5-year-old is getting more and more independent. So, I mean, I feel like at like 5 to 6 years old, you get a pretty independent kid.
For well-adopted, non-neurospicy children.
Independent, I guess, is like, I consider independent. Can they feed themselves, go to the bathroom, get dressed, and can they do a schedule without little, like, reaction?
Not live on their own.
Yeah, yeah. And so...
but that's our definition. Who knows if that's her definition?
Yeah.
Okay. Plus, after his parental leave, my partner works for 2 weeks away at a time, and I would have to be alone with 4 kids.
I try to put myself in her shoes right now, right? 4 kids, my partner's away for 2 weeks at a time. Mm-hmm. And that's right now. I have, in my marriage, my wife is an LPN and she works swing shifts. And that's a lot. You know, she works 3 to 4 swing shifts in a week and she's still able to do things for the kids in that meantime. But if she was like, hey, I got to go take off for 2 weeks. I need you to take care of everything with the kids. I could do it, but just doing it and then like being able to like have your own time. And it's also about the income that you live in. 4 kids. Do you have 4 kids and like you're able to get a babysitter?
Have time to yourself, be a person still, or are you now just
mom?
Yeah.
And some people are like, well, you had these kids. Shouldn't you just be okay being mom? Okay. But why? Mm-hmm.
I feel unloved for who I am as a person with needs and feelings, whose happiness and desires also matter. They do. I've already made a big step towards him by having his baby, showing him I love and value him. I tried to break up with him in the beginning so he could keep looking for a woman who wanted kids, but he was so insistent and persistent that I was the one for him. Over the last 2 years, he's been a good partner, and he's expressed that I'm his perfect woman, never nagging or being disrespectful, no drama, giving him freedom to do his hobbies, extremely affectionate and often taking initiative. Baby didn't hurt our sex life at all. Now that I refuse to have a second baby, aborted unfortunately, and got my tubes tied, he's gone so cold and shut me out. Oh, I want to stop there. Mm-hmm. I want to stop there because this is what happened. It sounds like, even in the beginning where she talks about it, I had his baby. She's like, I've done all these things for him. I've already made a big step toward him by having his baby, showing him I love and value him. How is having someone else's child showing that you love them? You're willing to make a sacrifice, but you told him that you didn't want to do this. So what you really did is you showed him that you don't have boundaries.
And don't have values.
Right.
Right. You compromise.
This is subjugation and people-pleasing to the utmost.
Yeah, if you're listening to this right now, if there anybody, it's like, when you take this example, what happens, she made that contract with herself, and she feels now, and since it happened, she's all like, okay, well, now I am going to have boundaries. Now I am going to have values.
So I'm curious, when she says, and in parentheses, she puts aborted, unfortunately. Yeah. So she's alluding that she got pregnant again. Mm-hmm. Where she didn't have the heart to do it the first time. So now she aborted it and got sterilized. How much conversation took place? Like, why? I'm just curious, why didn't any of this take place after the 3rd child? If you were serious about getting sterilized, and I'm not trying to blame, I'm just coming from a place of genuine curiosity. Like, why wouldn't you have done these things in the beginning if that's really what it was? I hate to say it, but you've created conflict because you put yourself in this position where you said you were going to do something, you didn't. You said you weren't going to do something, and you did. And then you found yourself in that position again, and then you did everything the opposite.
I'm curious, though, how much pressure she was probably feeling from her partner.
Also, they said they've only been together 2 years.
Yeah, and I'm just curious if there's a lot of pressure coming from him, too. Because it sounds like there's pressure. Like, how she's reading it, how it's being read, I just feel like a lot of pressure from him to her about having a baby. That last part you read, thankfully, he still second baby aborted and got my tubes. So he's gone so cold and shut me out. Yeah, right, so he's grieving his loss.
Right.
And that's not about you. You can't take that personal, right? It's like he's grieving his loss. He's done having kids.
Right. He has to give up the idea.
Yeah.
of this life that he wanted, he already said in the beginning, I'm willing to give this up for you. You're enough for me.
Yeah.
And then you got pregnant and you gave him what he wanted. And he was like, oh my God, this is so great. I love it.
You got attached to the outcome.
Right. And then you got pregnant again. And then I don't know if there was a discussion, right? Ultimately, women have the right to opt out of parenthood if they don't want it. Men don't have that.
Mm.
That is a freedom that they don't get the luxury of having. And so essentially, it's not just that the baby is gone. It's the illusion of him having a family, having more children.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that at first I thought he was just trying to pressure her to have a second baby. But it seems like there was a second baby on the table, so to speak.
I wondered too if they knew depending how far so she said aborted unfortunately. I wonder how far, like if they knew anything about gender or sex or anything, and what is the gender and sexes of the babies right now, because a lot of men are super attached to having a son, like beyond belief.
Yeah.
So if their first kid was a daughter, I've seen it where guys have gotten a son and are like, I'm good, like I'm done. Second kid, they're like, but yeah. So I'm curious about what genders all the kids are and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay, so thankfully he's still participating in parent and household duties, but man, it's hurtful. He's still participating. He's still in it.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, because if he was done, as we know, the opposite of love, indifference.
Right.
Yeah, if someone's indifferent to you, it's done.
She said he never returns and I love you anymore or smiles or even looks at me. He's hurting. Yeah, I understand he's hurting too, but where's any consideration for me? That's so entitled. Let the man grieve.
Yeah. And maybe it should be a conversation, right? I don't know that's probably why she's writing the Reddit, but there probably needs to be a conversation between the both of them about what he's willing to put in as far as affection wise in the relationship as of right now, due to the new reality that he's set in. Like, hey, so, I'm just not feeling very, I love you or flirtatious with you or want to kiss you. And something that's gotta be really hurtful to her too, because she's going through a lot.
Right.
And it's like he's not being there for her. It's
right.
like, what, was she supposed to be there for him now? And then that's where the fight comes. That's where the
right.
conflict is.
The way that this is written, it's very much like, I did this for him and now he's treating me like this. Right. And I'm not trying to sound like cold toward her, but the reality is like, we're only getting one side of this.
Yeah.
And so that's all we have to go on. And so we're filling in the blanks with what we know.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the consideration for me? I was already so miserable just in the beginning of the pregnancy, but it didn't seem to be a big problem to him. He's actually regretting choosing me for a partner and considering looking for someone else because I'm not having more kids isn't an option. And I'm just stuck here waiting to see if he'll come back to life towards me or decide to split. My heart breaks for our kid too, who loves him and is used to having both of us around and happy.
Yeah.
The way that she wrote that, like, did he say that?
Well, also, too, I'm curious if he said it, but also, too, because if someone's really regretful and they're really choosing another partner, they'll just do it. They're indifferent towards you, so they're going to move forward.
They're like, now I'm stuck here waiting.
And you're not stuck there. Do what you want.
Right.
Do whatever you want with your life. What if he wants to, then he's going to do whatever he does. I can't help that. Do what you want to do. What are your values? What's your mission in life? What do you want to do? Like, do whatever you want. Don't when you sit there and just wait in a chair for somebody, for them to make their decisions, you're putting yourself in a really hurtful position.
Right. I know, like, when I've been in these places with my husband, when I feel like the relationship, in our past has been like, I don't know if we're going to survive. I remember I had a conversation, like, I'm not waiting for you to make a decision. I'm doing this. So either you can fucking come along or not.
Yeah. And
the surprising piece has been, there is this communication. I'm not tapping out. I'm just taking time.
Well, and so my heart breaks for our kids too, who love him. And I think too often or not, I've seen people in relationships becoming tumultuous. Yeah, and so I've seen the relationship go that way. And then what happens is they're going like this, and one of the parents, or maybe even both of them, will be like, "But what about
you can't stay together because you have kids?"
Yeah, and you can't, and even saying it out loud is just so disingenuous to the relationship.
Because what are you teaching your kids if that's why?
Yeah.
That's what they're going to learn. That's acceptable love.
Yeah, and research has got it proven out as far as parenthood and kids. Two parents who stay together just for marriage versus two parents who co-parent effectively. The two parents who are unhappy with each other living in the same house, and they have this house that is just like...
They have more of an effect on the child's psyche than two parents who co-parent, live separately, and have happy lives.
Yeah, kids understand. They're resilient.
Yeah, kids are resilient. They do that. Okay, Am I wrong in judging that if he really loved me for me and not for what I do for him, birthing and raising his kids, sexual satisfaction, company, he wouldn't react this harshly? Is this just grief he must face alone and pass through? Unfortunately, he also refuses to ever discuss his feelings and personal struggles with anyone else but me, so he's just locked up, stewing in his misery without any outside perspective. I like that she says it like that, like she understands, but also, like, if you're the only person he's talking to, he's not getting any perspective. And there's this, I don't like to tell people how they feel. From what I'm reading, you sound resentful.
Yeah.
Decisions you made in this relationship and sacrifices you chose to make.
And resentful of the fact that he's even thinking about leaving.
Right, because you said, I'm not going to do this. You compromised your values, you bent your fucking boundaries, and you fucking gave in to make someone else happy. You made yourself small to fit what someone else wanted. And now they're mad that you've implemented the boundary and that you're not going to move from it.
And you know, something too is that, you know, we speak from, you know, both of us being counselors and stuff, but we also speak from like personal experience. Both probably, I won't speak for you, but for me at least, I've compromised my values before. I've had contracts in my head where I didn't tell the other person. I've made myself small to help the other person feel big in their dreams and stuff like that. And that's something like when we read this, I totally relate to what she's like going through, honestly. And am I wrong for judging that if I really loved it, that if he really loved me for me and not for what I do for him, he wouldn't react this way harshly? Is this just a grief he must face alone and pass through? You know, it is. I don't believe in setting time limits.
No.
I think, hey, so where are we moving away from here? And also, too, what's your own clarity in this? Because if you're seeking clarity from him, that's not a great place to really be at, you know, because right now it sounds like he's not the leader in the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like he's going through so much grief and loss that he can't lead in the relationship. And that's okay. That means now you need to create your own clarity. And that's to help you feel emotionally safe in the relationship.
Right. And the other thing is if you want to remain in this relationship, there's some work that you need to do yourself, right? But you need to make a decision. Are you going to stay in this relationship? Are you going to walk through while he goes through this grief and understand that there's nothing that you can do? And that, yeah, he might look at you like you're the fucking cause of his grief. You're the reason he's experiencing this pain. And in a way you are. I'm not saying it's your fault, right? You made a decision, fucking power to you, good for you. But ultimately, your decision had an impact on his mental health, on your relationship. You can't just be like, this is just the way the fuck it is, and you're going to get over it because I made all these sacrifices for you, right? But you can be like, I know that my decisions hurt you, and I know that I made decisions that didn't fall in line with my values and adhere to my boundaries, and I'm not willing to make those sacrifices anymore, and I need you to understand that, like, I love you and I want this with you, but if this is something that, like, you can't accept, I understand.
And you know something, when we talk about this perspective, it's like, this is advice, you know, take it or leave it. And at the end of the day, like, I read this and he's just locked up, stewing in his misery without any outside perspective. And I really get the hint here. And this is like, she sees the best in him. That's why she stays. That's why she hasn't left yet. She sees the best in him and who he can become. This last sentence, I know what she's saying. And if she wants to get on there and change it, I'm totally like, comment on our video and say, no, this is what I was trying to say. He needs to get therapy. Outside perspective, yeah, he needs to get therapy.
But also there's this thing that happens, and I've seen it so much where, and we were kind of talking about this earlier, it's the blame thrower. Everything is everyone else's fault. I've done so much. I've been a perfect person. I've not nagged. I've let him have his hobbies. He's told me I'm a perfect partner for him. And now he's just discarded me and thrown me to the side. Okay, but he needs therapy. You might need therapy too. I'm a big advocate for everybody needs therapy.
Well, and I'm actually, and you know, recently I've become more, even if you've done yet, and sometimes and I'm curious if this person is in therapy, because she might be.
She might be.
Yeah, and I would say this, that, you know, effective therapy is about what changes are you making as you progress through therapy, right? Sometimes a lot of people go to therapy and it's just a lot of talk, and you don't really do nothing.
And, you know, we had that teacher who once told us good helping doesn't take a long time.
Yeah.
You know, and there are people who do need long-term therapy. I'm not saying that people don't need long-term therapy, but for something like this, like, you go in, she says, I feel stuck here. That really stuck out to me. I feel stuck here because you're waiting for someone else to make a decision about your life. Why are you waiting for someone else to make a decision? You said it. I'm a good woman. I'm a good mom. I'm a good parent. He's a great dad. You know, and you've said all these things that really make me think that you want to be in this relationship, but you also want to feel validated in your feelings because you've done all these things for him. I'm sure he wants to feel validated in his feelings because he's just lost something.
And that's why, when it comes down to this, I'm a big proponent of therapy as well, but also something we don't talk about enough. This is becoming I feel like it's more of a new thing. Maybe it's been going on for years, but life coaching has become a little bit bigger. There are mental health counselors that are becoming dual credentialed. Well, life coaching is not a credential. Just be very clear about that. There is no, as far as a state we're in, there is no credential for life coaching. There is a certificate, hours you can do to become a life coach. You do like 2,000 hours or
That's
something.
a lot of hours.
Yeah, it is actually a lot of hours. No college education really required. I've actually known some psychologists and mental health professionals who become life coaches because they realize that sometimes it's not therapy that someone needs. It's advice giving. And in therapy, we're not supposed to give advice. We're not. We can phrase it a certain way, maybe. We can phrase our advice a certain way, but we can't just straight up just tell you like, hey, this is what you need to do. And in life coaching, they can. They can just be like, hey, this is what you want to do. And again, life coaching costs money. It's like private pay. It's not. And
Yeah.
I've known some mental health counselors who are life coaches, and they get to charge like 3 times as a life coach, and they do as a professional.
It's crazy.
Yeah, which it is crazy. So you're saying I can go become a life coach, say whatever I want, do whatever I want. The ethics,
Not have credential.
not have a credential.
And they have contracts for people like, if you don't have success, it's on you, not me.
There's no ethics technically involved in it. So the person can actually just tell you whatever they want. And then you have non-credentialed folks who are life coaches. So I tell people when they're trying to find a life coach, really look at their life experience and like what they're doing with it. Where did they get it? If it aligns, if what they want to talk about is the same thing. And that's right now. And sometimes the fact that you have to pay money for it, because when you get therapy, a lot of times people are going through the insurance company. And if you're not, you're paying like $70 an hour or something. And, depending on who you go to, sometimes because that transactional value is so low, the action value of what you're going to do is like low as well. So if you're paying a life coach, $200 an hour, you're like, we're talking about some stuff and we're getting stuff done, because I'm not just paying you nothing, paying you all this money, and then I'm just going to go and like do nothing with it,
Yeah.
And so the motivation is a little bit higher too.
Well, I agree and disagree.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are people who will invest that money, and then there's this expectation that you have a magic wand and you can bibbidi bobbidi boop and fix it all. And then you don't have to do any work because they're paying you $200 an hour to fix it for them.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of people will get advice from someone and they'll be like, but it didn't work. Also, too, though, I feel like a lot of life coaches I've met, they still do some counseling technique. You'll be wanting to make a really bad decision and they'll give you advice and be like, that's going to be like really horrible for you for these list of reasons. But they'll give you advice on like, hey, you can try this or you can try that. They give you options. And then you still got a decision to make. And they'll tell you, maybe it won't work. It's true. It might not. And that's why in counseling, we don't give advice, right? Because if I give you advice and it doesn't work out, who's at fault then? Let's read like 2 comments at least if you got a good one.
So there's this one creepy push says, of course it's easy for him. You do all the work. You need to have him take care of the baby alone without your help. Don't jump in. Don't give advice if possible. Leave. He needs to see and feel how much work it actually is. And while I completely agree with you, parting ways when one wants kids but the other doesn't, this is a different situation. You already have one child together, so the needs of that child should be number one for him, his wants. So leaving because he wants more kids would be extremely selfish to his child and would in fact make him a shitty parent. Plus, you've been transparent from the start. He's the one that's been full of shit.
Dang.
About this, as one, she already says he's been a great source of support, that he's been a great dad, and that everything is good there. So I don't feel like leaving him alone with his child is going to make him feel some sort of way.
Yeah.
She's already established he's a good fucking dad.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great fucking dad. What she's saying is she feels overwhelmed and made a decision. And I don't think, like, yes, she was clear about her desire to not have kids from the start. But then when she got pregnant, she compromised her values, her wants, her boundaries, her limits, and self-sacrificed to subjugate herself to meet his needs. If he leaves because he's found that this is something I really want, that doesn't make him a shitty parent.
Yeah.
That you're saying if he does this one thing, he's a shitty fucking person. Okay, how's that going to make him a shitty parent if he still shows up and takes part in that kid's life?
Well, and I think that the commenter says something about being transparent, and I think a lot of people have this attitude is that if I'm transparent, that there's no responsibility at the end. That well, I was transparent for you from the beginning, so that means that I have no responsibility in this because I told you. And I get that idea, like I get it, but still at the same time, like you can't.
So the OP responds to this comment, and she said, "That's it. He says fatherhood is his whole thing and his life purpose, but now he can't do what's best for his kid and get more fatherhood for himself like he wants. And any solution that doesn't involve acceptance of the bed he's made runs contrary to his own principles. I know he's hating on himself for putting himself in this position, but like, why me? I tried to convince him so many times. He's done a lot of the parenting work with the baby, but he did have the nights because I co-slept and breastfed, which was easier. He spent multiple days in a row alone with the baby at various ages after 6 months when we switched to formula, and even did some nights. But I stepped in when I realized he didn't always wake up when the baby cried hard. He has truly found himself being a dad, and that it was even better than he imagined. It makes me so sad to think that this genuinely loving and involved guy has found himself in this situation. Honestly, I might even be open to IVF in 5-ish years. I know I'm gonna hanker for a baby just out of hormonal reasons. But I don't want to tell him this right now because it's kind of decisive moment of whether he's committed to this kid as much as his love of fatherhood, and obviously also whether I matter to him. So I have a major issue with this. She's saying, I'm willing to compromise everything I've said I'm not going to do in 5 years, but I need to know that he's going to subjugate himself to me the way I did to him.
Mm-hmm. She wants the same contract.
Yep, that's just it. There's this whole entire contract in her head about this, and I don't want to be unfair to her. I really don't. But you're saying, and I love that she gives him credit where credit's due. He is a good dad. He spent multiple time alone, and I feel like I robbed him. To me, it really does seem like she's on this back and forth.
Yeah. And she says, honestly, I might even be open to IVF in 5-ish years. Like, are you just saying that to say it? I know you said honestly in the beginning, and I'm not saying you're being dishonest, but is this another contract you're having with yourself? You know, are you having a contract with yourself to basically keep him around?
Yeah. So a couple of comments down, someone said, can I just check? And the OP does respond to this. She says, can I just check that you had an abortion recently? I mean, he's not being fair to you, but depending on how recent that has been, he has the right to grieve. Don't get me wrong, your choices sound incredibly valid, but there's a difference between wanting another child and your partner having an abortion that is out of your control. It's most likely not about him wanting another child, which he could probably live without, but about you taking a potential child away. The fact that he is not talking to anyone won't be helping. Depending on how recent it is, I might need to give it time, but personally, I wouldn't change my position, i.e. IVF, and allow him to make his choice. So,
are you trying to keep him around?
Here's her response. And I think this is important context because it really adds a whole nother layer.
Mm-hmm.
It's within the last week.
Wow.
And we knew for a month beforehand. So he thought maybe you were going to keep this baby like you did the last one.
May.
And you're within the last 7 days this has happened, and you're just expecting him to snap and be okay with it.
I mean, also too, I wonder if the abortion, was it an abortion or was it that it was?
She said abortion.
Yeah. Or was it, but I mean, sometimes people use it, and maybe she'll give us context.
Yes, he's grieving this kid for sure, but also he's not accepting that he won't have any more. To the point where he was considering just a sperm donor to some lesbians for an open adoption sort of relationship. He really, really wants another one, and says he had decided that for some time already since seeing how awesome babies were. But even recently, he said he would understand if I got sterilized, but would be disappointed. I guess when it was still abstract and hypothetical, it was easier to believe, and he'd made peace with it. Absolutely.
Who've had miscarriages and who've had abortions and stuff. I feel like too often or not, though, and I get it because both people are just grieving, and the grieving looks different and everything like that. I just feel like a lot of times when I've seen it, I've seen the guy try to match the feelings that a woman is going through.
And the other thing is, they're talking about, in the more comments that I was reading, they're like, oh my God, he said he'd be a sperm donor, blah, blah, blah. He doesn't care. And she's like, yeah, it's wild. He's grieving.
Yeah, he's grasping. How can I feel okay? How can I get emotionally safe again? Oh, I could do this. I could do that. I could do this,
And
Like,
I
yeah.
think people tend to forget because they think it's not the man that's having the abortion, it's not the man that's losing a child, it's not the man that's carrying it within their. It's not. You're right. It's not.
Yeah.
But here's the reality. This is a man who's gotten really attached to having a child that you said, we're never going to do this. And then you did it. And then you got pregnant again. I don't know if there was some other variable there that they had to have an abortion. I don't know. But he very likely got very attached to the idea of the secondary child, his own child. And then boom, it happened again. And you take the work thing off the table. Like, who knows how long he's been at that job, how long he's going to stay at that job. What if you really told him, hey, like, I need more support? You're saying he's a great dad and he's a great partner. Like, I know some men that if I said I need more support, they'd move heaven and fucking earth to get me more support.
And sometimes what it is that, and I get it from this perspective, I really do. This comes back to leadership, right? So her asking, she could ask. Also, too, I'm curious if he said, what could it look like for us to have another kid? Like, what would you need for you to happen? How is he leading in the relationship and the conversation? But like, because a lot of guys, I hate to say it, just want to be like, yep, I want a baby. And there's no thought given to the childcare, the afterwards, the this, that, the third. Just like, there's no thought about it. It's just like, well, you're here. You'll do it. And so I'm just curious how much he's leading into the relationship on this.
She was on. This is the most recent comment. Like, she's actively commenting on this right now.
Mm-hmm.
So her response was, it was really wild to hear that, this sperm donor comment. I took it as grief making him mad, like he was grasping at straws to avoid accepting reality. This is something he never imagined he would do. In fact, he used to think that maybe he'd never get to have kids at all since he wasn't finding the right relationship or stable family. So, Mimi do, I think that's how you say her name. Oh my goodness, that's so recent. You need to give him time. I wouldn't push him at the stage and just see where he lands. Nothing that he says at this stage is particularly reliable. One thing, though, please do not question your decision or feel guilty. It sounds like you did the right thing for you. And the OP, she says, is there a reasonable time period within which to expect him to land? I won't give ultimatums, but I need to prepare myself for that difficult waiting period. And Mimi Do says, I think giving him time to process is perfectly reasonable. However, he has the right to feel upset. However, you don't want to get stuck in a toxic relationship when neither of you wants to move on, but he's not willing to forgive you. I think it gets rolled out at everything, but I genuinely think you may require professional help. This is so big. I love that she said that. No, you can't put a timestamp on grief. And it's not, he's grieving this baby. 2, he's grieving fatherhood. 3, there's also a version of you in which he's grieving.
He had his own contract in his head about who you are as a person.
Yeah, and because you've done this, he's realized you're not that person.
Which is okay.
Right, which is perfectly fine. You should be your own person and never compromise yourself because of someone else.
Yeah.
Right? But he still has to grieve that reality is not real.
Mm-hmm.
And he's also created this world where he gets to have more than one kid. And my thing is if me and my husband had a child, everybody thinks that we have kids. We don't.
Yeah.
None of our kids are collective. And people always ask, like, oh, did you want to? We actually did. We wanted to, and we tried, and it didn't happen for us.
Mm-hmm.
You can't put a time limit on grieving and say, you have to be over this in 6 weeks. He's not just grieving the loss of a child. He's grieving the loss of his growing family. He's grieving the loss of this fantasy that he's created of who you were, of what this family was going to be. Like he had said, he created this thing in his mind, and we do it, right? You can't tell me when people get pregnant what you want it or not. Like, you don't want it. You're like, I have all these things going on. This is supposed to be my life. I can't put it all on hold. Versus like, oh my God, my life's going to change so much. I'm going to be able to do X, Y, and Z. And like, so there's this grief around the fantasy of the family. There's this grief around who he thought you were because you've subjugated yourself so much. There's this grief around the child that he didn't get a say in whether or not got to be brought into this world. So there's a lot happening there. You can't, like, as difficult as it is for you, it's also difficult for him.
I'm curious about what if instead of reading it as like he's cold, he's harsh, he's
he's grieving.
Yeah, he's grieving. Yeah,
Or-
yeah, exactly. He's sad. He's hurt. Oh, he's doing that because he's sad and hurt. And don't get me wrong, that does not mean he gets to treat you some type of way. It's not what we're advocating. So I don't get to say I'm hurt. And yes, he can be short. Yes, he could do it as long as everything he's doing is appropriate. But like, for instance, like if he was sitting there just like, and it doesn't sound like he's like this type of guy or anything, but if he was to like start yelling at you, screaming, calling you names, no. He does not get to do that. That is not hurt. That's mean and that's hurtful. And so I think that, if he's just expressing it sounds like he's apathetic to the situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And if anybody's listening to this, apathy is a little bit different from indifference. There's still feeling around apathy.
I love that you explain to someone who's like,
no. It's really for the men because they're all like, and they probably listen to this because women listen to this.
I
all
love
like,
that you mansplain to them.
yeah. Because they kind of do need to get mansplained about feelings because they're all like indifference, apathy. What's the difference, And, when you've experienced them and I describe them, most guys are like, oh yeah, I've had that. Oh yeah, I know what that is.
Yeah. Appreciate the last comment was like, you need professional help.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't said in a demeaning or mean kind of way. It was just like, this is maybe, and you know what? That's probably something that would be really beneficial is for them to seek counseling together and separately. I always tell people, like, you should have your own therapist. They should have their own therapist. Then you guys should have a therapist. That is not either one of your independent therapists.
There are times in a relationship when one person might not be in the relationship. Like, it sounds like he's not in the relationship right now.
I don't.
And then he's grieving, sure. But I think that he's not, being in a relationship would mean that I feel like he would lead in the situation. I think that he would be more involved. And then I think he would start coming more forward towards me. Like,
see, that's where I disagree because you're leaning more toward what he needs to do in his role in the relationship, whereas like we're only getting this one lady's side, her perspective, and by her perspective, you're reading that as he's not invested in the relationship. I think he's grieving a life that he thought he was going to have.
And by grieving, I think that his response is that he doesn't. I don't think consciously he doesn't see himself in the relationship. I think it's a subconscious thought. Like, I don't think he's actively involved being like, I'm not in this relationship. I think it's more like he's enacting this because she even talked about like he's considering.
How do we know that though?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, did you have a conversation with him?
Right. She's just saying he's doing this and now I have to sit and wait for him to make a decision. I'm sorry, but if I was in this place where I thought my husband was considering leaving me, I'm not sitting around waiting for him to make a decision. I'm gonna be like, the fuck is really going on? Are you tapping out? Let me fucking know.
Yeah. I'd probably be the same way. Like if, someone comes to me and they're like, yeah, I'm just not in this no more. I'm just like, okay, let's move forward. And, depending on where I'm at in that relationship and everything. But yeah, I think there's a part of them that probably doesn't feel invested and is probably not in the relationship. But
I think it's just scary because you've done this thing where it's hurt your partner.
Yeah.
And I want to be very clear. You haven't hurt your partner. What you have done has hurt your partner.
Mm-hmm.
You've done what is best for you.
Yeah.
What you believe is best for you, for your health, for your mental health, for your spiritual health, for whatever, right? You've done what's best for you. And that's empowering. And there's no shame attached to that. However, your partner is gravely hurt. And you maybe are reeling at the consequence. Maybe he no longer wants to be in this relationship.
Well, and what he did is you guys were together and now he needs to become, and he's grieving, he needs to become emotionally safe again. And to become emotionally safe again, he needs to see another life where he could have a kid, right? And that means not being in the relationship currently. I guess that brings me to the whole marriage counseling thing. I think too often or not, like individual counseling needs to happen usually first before marriage so that the real work can happen in the counseling session.
The other piece is when you talk about marriage counseling, Kelly, people think marriage counseling is like the end all.
Yeah,
Going there because it's so irrevocably broken. This person's going to tell us we need to check out. The reality is marriage counseling needs to happen. You have some communication errors. You can't fucking figure out how to get on the same page. Counseling.
Yeah.
You have fucking independent problems that your partner's not doing X, Y, and Z. You should go to therapy yourself. Not you and your fucking partner. Because therapy is not about getting your partner to do what you want them to do. Therapy is about getting on the same fucking page.
Yeah. And too often or not, people go to marriage counseling hoping to change their partner. They're like, okay, well, and they're trying to like, okay, maybe me and the counselor can like work together to change this person. And I'm not talking about guys, girls, whoever. I'm talking about that's usually how I see it. Like,
Right.
okay, I'm the person who thinks this person needs to get fixed, and they go in there, they're like, okay, me and this counselor, we're gonna try to hook up and try to get this person
Right.
changed.
And that's just it. If there's some type of betrayal, which this is a betrayal
Yeah.
for him, right? Not for her, because she's now being true to who she is, but she compromised that, so now it's a betrayal to him. That's just my perspective. But if it's a betrayal like this, betrayal like cheating, whatever, you go, you meet, we're married, we're not really married. We're married, we go to therapy, and it's about what you did wrong. Tell him he did it wrong. Tell him.
Yeah, I've been trying to tell him for years.
It's like a shame.
Yeah.
Shame on you. Versus like, what needs to happen is I can't fucking talk to him. Like, I can't speak the same fucking language.
Mhm.
I can't get him to see or understand what is it you're trying to say. And a lot of times it's very slow, back and forth, but it works for people who are both invested, not people who want to blame and shame.
Yeah, and I'd say the investment part is really important because I remember me and my wife were going to marriage counseling, and at one point I could just tell she didn't want to go, and I just looked at her. I was like, you know, you want me to cancel marriage counseling? She goes, I do. I'm just not. And, you know, some of my friends and stuff and family were just kind of like, well, I mean, isn't that like the end? And I was like, no, she doesn't see us as in a relationship no more because we're separated. That's okay. That's okay. Like, she doesn't want, why go to marriage counseling and too often or not, people will stay in marriage counseling because they feel like, okay, well, this is like 1 hour where we get to work on us and we get to be in a marriage, and you're forcing someone to be there that doesn't want to be there.
Right.
Like, no, don't force nobody to be there. Like, be there for, you know, go get your own counseling for help and stuff. And so, yeah.
And then you were like, okay, well, we need to talk about some co-parenting stuff. Can we do that? And she was open to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, co-parent. And there is like co-parenting therapy, right? Where you can actually like, because there might be disagreements about the weekends or this, that, or whatever.
And bringing it up is like, it's a transitional thing. Therapy can be so transitional. It doesn't necessarily have to be for who's right, who's wrong. Again, for me, it always comes down to communication.
Mm-hmm.
Co-parenting is about communication. A good marriage is about communication. A healthy relationship is about good communication. What happened here seems like there was a breakdown in communication. And there was, because you said you weren't going to do something, you didn't want something, and then you did it, and then it came up again, and then you decided you didn't want to.
Yeah. Other than therapy, though, what advice could we give her that might be helpful in this situation? You know, I mean, we've talked about little things that she could
I
do.
know if I were in her shoes,
Mm-hmm.
if it were me and I made this decision and my partner was hurt by it, I would do my best to communicate like my wants and needs. I understand that I hurt you. Is there something that I can do to make it better? I'm in fear that this is the end of our relationship because you're shutting me out. I would be real about my feelings. I would get vulnerable. I would also say, do you just need time?
Mm-hmm.
And I would ask, because she wants a time limit, I would say, how much time?
Mm-hmm.
Because and this is a very real thing that happens in a relationship. I need to take time, but you're the type of person that, no, I need responses now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And those two people often find each other. You have to be able to say, no, I need time. Let's touch base in a week and I'll let you know where I am.
Mm-hmm.
And in a week, you have to, as the person who needs the time, make sure that you come to the other person and say, I know it's been a week, but I still need more time.
Mm-hmm. I mean, also too, though, is like sometimes you can do that and the person, maybe they don't want to do it, right? That happens. Like you say, hey, let's have an agreement. They're like, I don't want to agree to nothing right now. And she kind of hints to that he's kind of, you know, the apathy's there, right? And he might not want to do anything. What can you do to work on yourself during this time? What can you do to make you the best? Because let's say the breakup happens, the divorce happens. Like, let's just say the D word, divorce happens. Don't you want to put yourself in the best position possible? And I don't mean like, oh, let's make all these little plans financially, the house, all the other crap. I don't mean that stuff. I mean internally. Yep. Don't you want to be the best person possible for your kids and for yourself if anything were to happen? Like, make sure that you like are on solid ground.
To be able to through that.
Yeah, because like you have a couple options here. A lot of people go through a divorce and a separation and they just like, you know, they go straight down the pipe and it's really sucky. But you have an option here. You could go, I'll tell you right now, start being the best you possible. He's going to be like, wait, you're doing better? Like, how is that possible? Because I'm being distant and cold and you're doing better.
Right.
It might actually upset him at first because he's like, wow, you're really being you. So you're saying I can be me without you.
Yeah.
And that could be a whole new world for him.
It could be a whole new world for her too, because it seems like she's been what he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, when we're talking about like, what should you do? You should focus on being you.
Yeah. And what does it mean to be you? Right.
What do you want?
Yeah. I mean, it's the little pieces that make the progress.
I love it. I was at work the other day and we were talking about goal setting, not my SUD work, different role. You know, people put like, be healthier, live a better life. And I'm like, okay, but let's break that down. What does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're asking these people to create these goals. What does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, and that's all you have to do. All you have to ask them is, what does that look like? What does living a better life look like for you? Can you tell me a little bit? Can you elaborate? I'm just curious.
Yeah. Well, and like this person that posted, maybe she might be in the same situation. Like, what do you want for your mental health? And a lot of people will answer not equalizing, oh, I want better mental health. And you're right. It's like, what do you want? Like, what does your better mental health look like? Does that look like more walks? Does that look like more praying? Does it look like more exercise?
Like more time away invested in yourself, you know?
Yeah. I think just too often or not in a relationship, you become enmeshed and codependent and you don't know how to break that apart. And sometimes I'm curious.
Sometimes I'm sorry, I have to.
Yeah.
I remember when we lived in Puyallup and me and Troy, we went through that really rough patch.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, we were so enmeshed. We worked together, we lived together. Everything was together all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like, I remember he told me, he's like, we need to figure out who we are outside of this relationship. And I was like, I was really scared. And I was like, we're going to end up breaking up.
Mm-hmm.
I know it. And we did. We broke up and we had some time apart and things went really like sideways. But we also like figured out how to have independence, and we ended up getting back together. I think it was like 4 or 5 months later.
Yeah,
we weren't broken up for that long, 3 months maybe.
I thought I was sick.
I think I know after, I think 6 was our longest.
Yeah,
I feel like maybe they all were 6, but this one, because we stayed connected also during that separation, and then I went and figured out like who I was and what I wanted to do, and all these outside activities outside the relationship that didn't involve him.
Mm-hmm.
And he did too. And he got friends that I did not like and friendships that did not involve me, and figured out what it was he wanted to be and who he wanted to be. And then like through that, like we weren't perfect right after that, but we ended up coming back together and having this. We didn't work together anymore. We had lives outside of each other. You know, I remember I went to Tri-Cities without him.
Mm-hmm.
And we weren't even together. And he was like, I just feel like you're going to go and you're going to like hook up with other people. And dude, no. And even if I did, it's not your business.
It's, time away can really do wonders. Yeah. And that doesn't mean you have to leave the house, or it doesn't even mean that you have to sleep in the, the bed. You can still sleep in bed together, and it's just about getting that space. Yeah. Space is friends. And a lot of people think space is danger, and it's not. Space will keep a relationship alive.
I think space without communication is dangerous.
I mean, I think that, you want to communicate that you want space because you want to do this. At the same time, can I be comfortable without communication space? And that's super interesting to be, can I? Because some people, you're right. If you know you're not a person who can do that, then yeah, and there's some people who are comfortable with space, and there doesn't have to be communication. They're like, yep, there's just big open space here, and they just get comfortable with it. And there's some people that are like, yeah, this is cool space, but I need some communication on like what space means to you and like how this is going to go forward. And I would say that a lot of people do need that communication. And it's an interesting place to be when you can get to a space where you can give that space without communication and just be you. I'm not saying that means like days, years, months, or anything like that, but just like a Sunday afternoon or something, and you're not, you're just being you.
Time to myself, time to invest in me. It's not isolation, it's solitude.
My last piece of advice, I guess, to her, is just what we both said, which is just investing in you. And if you want to know practicality, that for me, investing in me is going out and doing things, getting friends. It was going out. I did Spartan events and stuff like that. What do you love to do? Find that out again. Who are you hanging out with? And all you doing is just talk about the relationship? Is there someone you can hang out with? Join a book club, go to the beach, go to the mountain, go do stuff. I went skydiving.
Read a book.
Yeah.
Plant a tree, walk your dog.
Yeah.
Go have lunch by yourself and people watch it, right?
There's a old thing where I give people a lot of, so this is a very interesting, I was told in early recovery. So as some people know, me and Melanie are both in recovery. I'm sober 16 years. And so one of the very first things I ever got told is Kelly, I want you to go to a coffee shop. And this was in South Korea. So it's a coffee shop. I want you to go there. You can't order coffee. You can't talk to no one. You can't use your phone. You can't do nothing.
Sit with yourself.
Sit with yourself. I just want you to sit there. You're going to be around people. I want to see how you sit there. And I want you to time yourself. That's the only thing you can do with your phone is time yourself. And I said, okay. And he goes, after however much long you last, call me. And I was like, okay, cool. So I told him what time it was. I went in there. 6 minutes later, I called him. And he goes, and that's how long you're okay with being with yourself. And I was like, dang. And it's true. How long? And I remember
I didn't have coffee though.
So the whole thing behind it is that the coffee, the phone, the people is all a distraction. Yeah, that you get to, in the coffee, you probably would have some semblance of distraction. Like, oh, well, at least I get to have this coffee. At least I get to have this drink.
Feels good.
Yeah. And it was, oh, this has a really good taste to it. Your mind will be attracted to that. So if you're out here listening and you're wondering something about how long you can be with yourself, how long can you be with yourself? Because after about 5 years, I did that exercise again at a place called Bernalino's in Tacoma. Yeah, and Bernalino's no longer around, but it was an awesome coffee shop that a lot of people in recovery went to, loved it. And I went there outside in the front area, no talking, no nothing. And I think I sat with myself for like 116 minutes. Yeah. And so if you're wondering about where you're at in your life, how long can you sit still and be with just you and no distractions?
It's a good exercise.
Yeah. It's hard.
That's maybe what she should do.
Yeah. Sit with yourself and no writing, no nothing. Because that's another thing too, is I think a lot of people want to do this exercise and they really want to get like their thoughts down, use it as meditate. That's not the point. The point is to see how long you can really be with yourself. And I think that if people are really honest with themselves, they probably, if they get really down to it, most people I've seen when they've done this exercise, very first time, they don't last longer than 15 minutes usually. Yeah. I lasted 6 minutes. The guy was like, yeah, he's like, I've had people literally last like 30 seconds to call me. He's had people who just cheated the whole thing, went in there, got a cup of coffee and started talking to everybody. That's another thing too, is that now you've talked to somebody and you've now interacted.
Yeah.
And
you're not sitting with yourself.
Exactly. He really wants you to go there. And then another thing people ask me is, why around people? Why can't I do this exercise in the solitude of my life?
Around people's easier to distract yourself. It's easier to get caught up. Someone can talk to you. You can just, I get that.
Yeah.
It's easier to sit in solitude by yourself.
It is. But when people are around me, I have to really.
Solitude is when other people are present and you still choose to invest in you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's a great quote right there. I love that.
I just made that up.
I know. That's amazing right there. I like that. Yeah. Because it's true. It's easy to sit here, like we're sitting in this little studio right here. It's really easy. Like if I wanted to even come in here and just be with myself, I could do that.
Absolutely.
I can sit in this chair and just be with myself.
I do this all day.
Yeah. But go tell me to be around a bunch of people and then sit with myself.
Hard.
I'm social.
Me too.
I want to talk to people. I want to see what's up. I want to see the coffee drink of the day.
Listen, I literally went and I was getting my nails done yesterday and I sat down and the lady next to me started talking to me and I just,
Mm-hmm.
Like, and normally when I go to a nail shop, I'm like,
in the zone.
I don't talk.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to talk. This is like the place I'm going. And you can say like, that's not really solitude. That's more a self-care thing, but I'm choosing not to engage. I'm a people person. I'm a professional peopler.
Mm-hmm.
We know that. I get paid to people. And so sometimes even when I'm around people, I really want to just.
Mm-hmm. I do consider that a form of solitude, though. I agree with you. I think it is. And that's good. It's good solitude. It's self-care solitude. Yeah. And being able to do an activity that's just about you and not having to involve other people in the conversation, And so, because it sucks, because once we start talking to people, me and you, we're having a full-on conversation with that person. I can't just talk to them for 5 seconds and then like go back to doing. And then like being a counselor, somehow I know all their problems by the end of an hour. And I'm all like, oh man, you should really see a therapist about that. Like,
we just say that healing isn't linear. And if you're in the process, pull up a chair, we invite you to this space, and we'll see you next time.
No, and that's it. Thanks for joining us.